So in this video, we're going to be going over where you would create an ad. Now, Snapchat has two editors. They have the quick and easy or beginner editor, and they have another one called the advanced editor. Now, besides having a few different options, the actual traffic that you receive, I've noticed, is actually different. So depending on your goals, you'll want to use the different editors. And each of them, for some reason, has different options that the other doesn't. So like I said, there's benefits and negatives to each of them. So first we'll go over the beginner editor, then we'll go into the advanced editor, and I'll explain the differences in the traffic that you'll receive, the types of bidding options that you have, and stuff like that, because Snapchat themselves doesn't mention this at all. So to get to the beginner editor, what you'll want to do is go into your menu and click on create ads. Now Snapchat will pop up a dialog box that asks you, would you like to use the quick and easy or the advanced editor? So we'll go ahead and use the quick and easy editor, and so we'll just do the overview of it. So as you can see, there's three different ad types here. The only two ad types that I've currently used is Snap Ad and Story Ad. Now the difference is Snap Ad will be shown, it's a 5 to 10 second ad that will be shown in between the user swiping through content. The Story Ad will actually show up in their discovery feed, so they'll notice it's an ad right from the thumbnail. So it's more of like a banner ad within Snapchat in terms of traditional banner ads, as Snap Ads are more of like a native ad or interstitial ad. So in terms of filters, I haven't personally ran this due to the campaigns that I've ran, but if you are like a small, e-com store or a large e-com store or some type of local business, maybe you have clients and stuff like that, the filter is actually just an ad that allows you to have Snapchat users be able to put your brand logo and some fun things on their pictures and kind of get brand awareness that way. As you can see, in terms of performance marketing, it's not something I can measure directly, and therefore that's why I haven't used it. So for the majority of you that are watching this, you'll be using Snap Ads most likely, so Snap Ad. So I'll go ahead and leave that as selected. So the first thing you'll see is name. Now this is for internal use only. It's, if you have multiple ads in a campaign or an ad set, then you're able to name them and kind of identify what the ads are. So you'll just want to name your ad. The Snap Pixel, if you have already taken a Snap Pixel and put it on your website, I know we haven't gone over this quite yet, but we will later in the course. This will allow Snapchat to pass the data from your traffic campaign onto the pixel. That way they can identify different information from the user that has gone from Snapchat onto your website and be able to track different metrics that they perform while on your website or app or whatever it may be. For the most part, we'll just, like for affiliate campaigns, for example, you'll want to leave this disabled because it's probably unlikely that you'll be able to put your own Snap Pixel on an affiliate offer. In terms of shareable, now this one's interesting because at first go you would think, oh wow, yeah, I want as many people to see my ad as possible, so if they share it with their friends, that's a good thing. However, I've noticed that from some campaigns, depending on what it is, I've actually disabled this and gotten a better conversion rate. And the reason for this is because when you leave shareable on, in the bottom right hand corner it will put a share button which gets in the way of them scrolling. So maybe they accidentally click that and get out of the menu that they were looking at your website. So you'll want to split test this just like everything that we go over, but from what I've tested, like I said, shareable in terms of conversion rates, you want this off. Now your brand name, this needs to match your website or app or wherever you're sending traffic. So for example, if you're running an affiliate offer that's like whatever, games, but you send your initial traffic to a landing page that's called game, then you want to name your brand game because it's the very first, whatever the website is that loads first, you're going to want to put that brand name. And if this doesn't match with where you're sending it, it's very likely and one of the most likely reasons why your ads will be disapproved in the first place. So don't try and do any type of marketing language or some type of hack to use the brand name as a marketing message. Make sure it matches. Now, if your brand name is pretty long, you can abbreviate. I've seen different companies with long website URLs abbreviate it, but besides that, I wouldn't try and push it too much. The headline is what will show up at the top right under your brand name. So for the most part, the headline, it could be a very quick, short to the point, what your ad is about. But the majority of your call to action text will actually be in the ad itself that you create. This, I haven't noticed too much of an impact in terms of, split testing this and changing it. It's more so the actual creative. So I wouldn't worry about this part too much, but it's important to at least have it so you get your ad approved. Now, Top Snap Media, this is where you will actually either upload, use a previous, or create a new ad right within Snapchat themselves. We'll go over these in a previous video or in a future video and really deep dive into both the Snapchat ads creator, both beginner and advanced. But I will also show you exactly how I do it and even provide you some templates to help you get started, because from what I've noticed, I'm not a big fan of the actual Snapchat editor. It takes a lot of time to do things that I'm just more familiar with other software, which is better for my workflow, and it might be better for yours. However, like I said, we'll go over it anyway because it might be better for you to use Snapchat's editor. Now, the attachment type, this is the actual call to action, not call to action, but the actual action that you want the user to do when they interact with your ad. The majority of the time you'll want to be using website. Even if you are an affiliate running app installs, it'll still be a link. So unless you are the actual app owner, then you're not going to want to use app install. Pretty much everyone here will be using the website attachment. So when you click on it, you'll notice that it pops up a few other options. You'll have now call to action, which has a few options here. Now, with the call to action, I've gotten ad disapproval simply by putting something that doesn't match what the actual user would be doing. So for example, if I was sending them to a shop page and I put read now, they would disapprove the ad. So you really need to make sure that the call to action matches what the user will be doing. So if you're sending them to an advertorial, like a blog post or something, make sure it's read now or view more or something like along those lines. If you're sending them to a store to actually purchase, do shop now or maybe add more or something like that. You can test these yourselves, but like I said, for whatever reason, Snapchat really likes to disapprove ads if it even is not close to what the action is. But like I said, there is a few different options like order now, shop now for each individual thing. So for now, we'll just leave it as more. The website URL, will be your tracking link or your initial landing page. You can put your affiliate link directly in here. However, I've also had ad disapprovals because of the affiliate network having a blocked domain or something like that. So I highly suggest, at the very least, that you run your traffic to a landing page, and even more importantly, I would highly suggest you run it through a tracking link to a landing page, then to the offer, no matter what you plan on. Affiliate campaign, direct to agency, it just makes everything easier. The Autofill tab, I haven't used this too much yet, but I actually have recently just started. If you have the Snap Pixel enabled on your website and you have Autofill enabled, what this allows you to do is Snapchat can pass basic user information from their app directly into your form. So for example, if you're trying to collect an email, first name, last name, phone number, stuff like that, you can pre-populate that information in your form if they click from Snapchat and you have the Snapchat Pixel. So it's very cool for lead gen, stuff like health insurance, auto insurance, life insurance, education, debt collection, whatever it may be. If you can pass information, that will obviously increase your conversion rate. So it's pretty powerful. But like I said, just like the Snap Pixel, if you don't have it on there, if you are running an affiliate campaign, it's probably unlikely that you'll be able to have that on there, but it's worth a shot if you can. Now, the preload feature, this thing is tricky, to be honest. So if you leave preload on, Snapchat will actually cache your landing page and not even really hit your server. They'll just use the cache version. So, and then what they'll do is they'll ping your server so you still see a click happening. So what this means is if you're trying to split test landing pages and it's on the back end, and Snapchat caches the first landing page that they see, landing page A, and then they ping your server and you see that the ping hit landing page B, it'll really screw up your stats. I've seen some weird stuff happening, and that's kind of how me and my buddy figured out what was going on. And so the other option is to turn off preloading, and what will happen is every single impression, not even click, just impression of your ad will ping your server. So in terms of how Snapchat has things, split testing has been difficult if you're doing a back-end split test. If you're doing it through a URL redirect, I would go ahead and leave preloading on because it's hitting a new server every time. But if you're, like I said, certain tools like Optimizely and stuff like that aren't really going to work with Snapchat how they currently have it set up. If I find a way to get past this, I will update this video and let you guys know. So the next thing you'll see is the targeting for Snapchat. Now, first of all, I always suggest updating your locations first, because based on the location, it'll also change the various different targeting. So as you can see, if you plan on targeting within the United States, you'll be able to see that you can choose from states, metros, postal codes, and even categories, like location categories, and then select the location from there. However, if you delete United States, it'll then change to select a country if you plan on running international traffic. So say we wanted to run traffic in Colombia, now we can select different regions in Colombia. This isn't true for all countries. Some of them you can only select country and not really select region, but I've noticed that this is expanding pretty quickly, so it's pretty cool. Next up is age. Now, what I suggest doing is, because Snapchat is limited to 35 plus and 13, what I like to do is, if I'm running in a country with a substantial amount of volume, I try and break up my age ranges as much as possible. So for example, if I'm running in the United States, I'll actually do one age difference at a time. So for example, we'd do like 20 to 21. However, if you are running traffic in a less populated country with less volume, you could save yourself some time and just do brackets, kind of like what Facebook used to do. So like 20 to 25, 26 to 30, stuff like that. And that'll help you identify different demographic pockets that are profitable for you, and just another way to later on optimize your campaigns. Same thing with gender. I would split those up. All you got to do is just select it, and you can see that as we're clicking these various targeting options, we're changing how many actual Snapchatters are in this region. So for example, in Colombia there are 120,000 20 to 25 females, so that's actually not that much traffic. So as a comparison, let's do the United States with the exact same targeting, and you'll see that there's 12 million. So you'll start to notice certain countries have a huge traffic fall off. The majority of countries that Snapchat has a lot of volume in is United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and certain pockets of Europe. After that, it kind of falls off pretty dramatically, but there's still volume available, and chances are you probably won't have very much competition if you're running in a region with lower volume traffic. So the other thing you'll see is regulated content. This is if you're running anything for like tobacco, vape products, stuff like that. You want to check this age restriction. I personally haven't ran anything that's required age restrictions, but if you obviously want to click that, or you'll definitely get disapproved. If they don't catch you right away, then they might flat out ban your account later. So it's important to make sure that if you're doing that stuff, make sure you check that box. Now, the reason I wanted to switch back to United States was because of the interests. You'll see that Snapchat may not collect a lot of information directly from their users, but they do collect like email, first name, phone number, and then they buy data from third parties, and then they match that data together. That way they're able to offer a lot of different interest targeting, demographics targeting, stuff like that. So one thing to note here is there is a lot of options, but you don't want to stack interests, because unlike Facebook, where you could do mothers that like dogs and specifically like pugs and also have children and then narrow it to that one group, Snapchat actually will broaden based on these interests. So if it's like, if you select single mother and then you select, married, it won't just select single mother, it will select both groups. That's probably a bad example. I guess a better one would be like single mother and dog lover. It would select all dog lovers and all single mothers. So it's kind of annoying. So I highly suggest you only test one interest if you plan on doing that. They do have a lot of different options, so I'm sure you'll be able to find one that works best for whatever you're trying to run. So if you've ran, for example, Facebook, they used to have engaged shoppers. For example, Snapchat has similar ones, and even within that, you can tell, I shop for apparel a lot, they like to buy technology, stuff like that. So if you're running e-com, that'll help a lot. If you're running data, like lead gen, then obviously lifestyle and stuff like that would be better for you. But once again, just play around with it, figure out which different targeting works for you, and that's how you'll find profitable campaigns. But like I said, it's a bit more work to split all these up individually. It's going to be a lot of campaigns in your dashboard, but it'll really quickly help you identify these profit pockets. So the other thing is that we can do is we can click show more, and what this allows us to do is have a little bit more advanced options. So the new ones, because it kind of blends together, the new one that we'll see up top is language. Now, for example, if you are running in a country like Belgium, for example, where they speak, German, Dutch, French, and it's like 30% of the country speaks this language, 30% speaks this language, and 30% speaks the other language, obviously it's very important that if you're trying to target the Dutch speaking part of the country, you want to select the language Dutch. Another good example of this is if you're running in the United States and you only want to run a Latino auto insurance offer, then select Spanish. No matter what, even if you're running in the United States, I do suggest running English, because when foreigners, like when people from other countries are visiting the United States and they're within the United States and they're using Snapchat, I doubt it's a very large population, but they may not all speak English, and even though they're here, they will show up under United States. Plus, there's a lot of immigration and not everyone speaks the language. So it's one thing that I just highly suggest you throw in there for all your campaigns. A new one is operating system. Now, Snapchat is an app only, so all of your traffic will be coming from mobile. Now, I've noticed that Snapchat has targeting options for tablets. However, I haven't seen a app for the tablet or iPad. So I'm not sure if that's iPads that are using the iPhone equivalent and then stretching it out, or if there's actually a dedicated app. However, I've noticed that the large majority, if not almost all of it, comes from smartphones, mostly iOS in the United States. So when you select one, if we do select iOS, for example, it'll bring up a new menu which allows us to select operating system version. So this is something that I also suggest you do, because if your tracker can actually identify which OS is on their phone, you can actually identify different OSs convert better, even if it's the same model. And with that, there's a difference between someone that hasn't updated their phone from iOS 9 to someone that may have just updated every update. There's a difference there, not only with the mindset of the person themselves, but also how the phone operates. So maybe they've made changes to Safari and it's breaking your landing page with the old version versus the new version, stuff like that. So it's a very cool targeting feature that I actually haven't seen many people mess with in most traffic platforms, yet it's one of the best targeting options when you're running mobile traffic, and will be the same within Snapchat. So for example, we'll just do 12 to 12.1, which is basically only targeting the latest iOS versions. And now what we can do is, because we have selected iOS, there's device makes. It will only be Apple because all iOS is Apple. And we can see all of the different devices. Now, if you've been running mobile traffic for like 3 to 4 years, maybe 5 years, you'll have noticed that within our tracker, we haven't been able to identify what device type, or which actual device type from iOS is coming through to our page, because Apple used to, or still does, blocks it within Safari or browsers. Because Snapchat is an app, however, we're able to identify this information and figure out which device type it is. So if your tracker isn't able to do that, I highly suggest breaking up even different phones. So for example, at the bare minimum, I've noticed a huge difference with iPhone 6, iPhone 6s, 7, and 8 versus the pluses, and that's because of screen size. And then there's also the iPhone 10 and the SE because of different demographics. So like someone that's using the iPhone X probably has a more higher disposable income than someone with the SE, which is a lower tier phone, or an older phone such as the iPhone 6. So all of these things that you're able to target, you just have to be in the mindset that you are targeting them also with the intention of trying to identify their demographics. So for example, if you were running a debt relief offer, it would obviously not always be the case, but most likely you would have a higher conversion rate if you ran it on Android or older iPhones. And then on top of that, as you'll see, which rolls over to the next targeting option, which is connection type, which allows you to select cell phone, Wi-Fi, and then on top of that allows you to select carrier. Now, why I wanted to mention why it rolls over, and it kind of makes sense with the previous example, is if you're trying to run a debt relief offer, not only Android and lower tier iPhones probably means that they're lower income and may have debt problems, but also the actual ISP themselves. So for example, generally speaking, someone that has Verizon or AT&T usually will have a higher disposable income than someone that's using like Cricket Wireless, Boost Mobile, T-Mobile, Ting, stuff like that, because those carriers are prepaid carriers, which generally means that they're trying to save money, or they may not have money month to month to actually spend on a cell phone. So the prepaid carriers is another targeting option to help you kind of micro target these demographics. So I'm not going to really select anything there, but as you can see with just the random different targeting options that we've selected, we're now down to 5,700,000 Snapchat users in the United States. Now next up is duration and budget. Now there's a few things here that might scare some of you off. However, I know a lot of you, this isn't going to be a big deal. So first up, Snapchat minimum daily budget is $50 a day, and I know this is much higher than a lot of other platforms. As an example, Facebook, you can even run $1 a day campaign. You may get all of your traffic within 5 minutes just randomly throughout the day, but you can still do it. With Snapchat, like I said, the minimum is $50. The other thing you could do is do lifetime budget, but depending now on when you set your start and end date, still they made it the minimum. So for example, they still made the minimum 50. So if I just select click that, you can see that now it's making me put 1,150. So unfortunately, those of you with smaller budgets, hopefully this doesn't scare you off too much, because regardless, $50 isn't too much. I know it will limit your testing if you have a small budget and you're only able to select one campaign, but honestly, for the type of quality traffic that Snapchat provides, this little hula hoop or whatever that we have to jump through is actually a good thing, because it'll scare a lot of other affiliates away. So the other thing that I would like to mention is the start and end time. Now, even if you just plan on running this campaign for the rest of your life, I still suggest that at minimum you set a start time. So for example, today is November 7th, 2018. I would suggest that if I was setting this campaign up today at 8:07 a.m., that I would select the ad to start running on Thursday, the 8th, and then select the time down here to be 11. Oops. Why would they put 12 up there now? Okay, so 12 a.m. Now the reason for this is you want your traffic to go live right as the day resets. That way, For example, I've had ads go live at like 11 p.m. at night with a $50 daily budget, and Snapchat will try and burn through your budget because technically it's $50 in one day. Other platforms try and spread that out, but Snapchat has been a little glitchy in terms of that. So that's why I've just started setting my start date to the next day at 12 a.m. That way, right as the day resets, it's got that entire $50 budget to play with. It just has really helped with spend and stuff like that. So next up is bid and goal. Now this is simply just your bid in terms of how much you would like to pay per swipe up. Now, even if you bid say 15 cents, it is possible for Snapchat to charge you 18 cents a swipe up if your click-through rate is terrible. However, if it's over your bid by too much for too long, then it'll simply pause the campaign because it obviously the traffic isn't going to be cheap enough for you to hit your target goal. With Snapchat, it defaults to auto bid. Now, the majority of my campaigns when I'm first testing things, I set it up for a manual bid. However, with auto bid, if I know that an actual creative has a high swipe up rate, I will go ahead and test auto bid because Snapchat will automatically send better quality traffic, like higher impression, meaning maybe the user has only been on for 10 minutes and I'm ad number 5 as opposed to ad number 20. And so generally, if people are fresh in an app or website, whatever it may be in marketing, the higher up your impression is, like the closer it is to number 1, generally the traffic is better. So with auto bid, Snapchat will just determine whatever the bid is for the best quality traffic. So like I said, if you have an ad that has a good swipe up rate, go ahead and test out auto bid. But until then, I suggest that you go ahead and click on auto bid. And what will happen is it'll pop up allowing you to select whatever bid you want. Now, as you can see down here, it says suggested bid is 26 cents to $1.10. And that is because of our targeting. This is what other advertisers on average are paying. Now, I wouldn't worry about this too much because even though the lowest end suggested bid is 26 cents, what I like to do is do 20 to 30% lower than the lowest suggested bid when I'm first starting out a lot of my campaigns. Obviously, I suggest testing a higher bid, but so far what's been working for me is going below the minimum suggested bid. So in this example, I would say I would bid anywhere between 15 cents to 20 cents based on the suggested bid. So for example, I just do 15 cents. And now Snapchat will try and send me traffic, enough clicks or swipe ups where I'm only paying per swipe up 15 cents. Now the other thing you can do is next to swipe up here is you can also see that there's impressions. So if we select impressions, the same thing will happen. It'll reset to auto bid, but now you can see that Snapchat is suggesting that we pay $2.25 to $3.94 per 1,000 impressions of our ad. So I personally prefer swipe up as I've seen better success with it, because as your campaign runs, Snapchat will automatically start finding the people that are more likely to swipe up on your ad and then find people similar to them. With impressions, it just kind of shows it to everyone. So, it's depending on your campaign. Obviously, swipe up, you're going to get your ads seen by the same people more frequently than if you were to go after impressions. So once again, it's just something you want to test. Now, as you can see, there's also pixel sign up and pixel purchase. That's, once again, if you had your pixels set up properly on your e-com store or your website, you can actually do this type of bidding. So, maybe a purchase bid, your profit is like $30 and you're looking to at least spend a minimum or a maximum of $20 per purchase. You could actually do that if your pixel was set up properly. Now, the other thing you're going to notice if this is your first campaign that you're setting up, so most of you will see this, is because I haven't created a campaign before on this account, it will ask for my business address and also my payment method. So that's pretty much everything in terms of the basic editor. Now we'll go back through and start to understand the advanced creator and the differences between them, also how to create your ads and all that stuff. If you liked this video, please subscribe and leave a comment below if you have any questions.